Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. This team is on a 5-game losing streak. They just lost to the New England Patriots. Let me say that again. They just lost to the New England Patriots. Oddly enough, the last team that they beat were 5 weeks ago, and they defeated the New England Patriots on Thursday Night Football. This is ridiculous for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. I will say this for context here. Their kicker is terrible. Greg Zuerlein may be the worst starting kicker in the NFL. He missed a game-winning kick against the Denver Broncos. Granted, it was terrible weather conditions, but you have to go down there. You have to make the kick. He makes that kick. They go out there. They win that football game against the Buffalo Bills. Once again, windy conditions. The Buffalo Bills kicker went down there. He's making his field goals. He missed field goals in that game as well. Goes out there and makes those field goals. He wins that football game. And I do understand not every single loss is on him, but those are 2 games right there. And then when you look at today's game against the New England Patriots, no bad weather conditions. Pretty normal for New England standards and for the Jets standards as well. Goes out there, misses a crucial field goal in this game as well. And they lose this game by 3 points. They lose to the New England Patriots 22-25. The defense does not look the same this season. You can't blame Coach Saleh anymore because he is no longer the head coach. Now you're going with Coach Brick, and I'm not going to blame him either because this is a very bad situation that he's in. I want you guys to realize how hard it is to just go out there and from being a defensive coordinator saying, you know what, hey, go out there and fix our entire team, coach. Instead of worrying about defense, worry about special teams, worry about offense, worry about every single thing. And they brought in a brand new offensive play caller. Todd Downing is now calling offensive plays. It's no longer Nathaniel Hackett. And the offense has looked better, but it's just been slightly better. This is a team that went out there and made a move to bring in Devontae Adams. This is also a team that went out there and they waived all the fees for Hassan Reddick. They brought him back as well. The Aaron Rodgers stint so far with the New York Jets has been a colossal disaster. And he has not been the same quarterback either. And we have to mention that because against the Minnesota Vikings, he threw 3 interceptions in that game. He cost them the game in Minnesota. You can't blame coaching for that. He hasn't played well. He threw 3 interceptions in that game. We go back a couple weeks later. Yes, they lost against the Buffalo Bills in weird fashion, but let's be weird. Let's be real here. He throws a Hail Mary right before halftime. They go out there, they get a touchdown, they get the extra point. That's 7 points on the board. You can say that's a fluke play. Aaron Rodgers has been the king of the Hail Mary for his entire career. But this offense has still not been consistent with Garrett Wilson. Bringing in Devontae Adams. I get that Allen Lazard missed today's game dealing with a chest injury, but let's not act like Allen Lazard is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. They have given Aaron Rodgers every single piece that he wants with this organization, and it has not worked out. He has not been a good quarterback this season. He looks like an older version of Aaron Rodgers because he is. This is a quarterback that's come off Achilles injury. He doesn't have the ability to go out there and carry the offense fully on his back anymore. And we've seen Breece Hall go out there and have moments to where he looks like a top running back that he once was when he was a rookie. But to go out there and lose against the New England Patriots, and no offense to the New England Patriots, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. They are a rebuilding team. The Jets should easily go out there and defeat this team. They did it a couple weeks ago. And I do understand you're in a division game. You're going to go out there. It's going to be a lot of close games because you see each other twice a year. But at the same time, look at the talent that they have. They should not be in this situation. This offensive line is aging as well. They brought in Tyron Smith. They brought in Morgan Moses as well. 2 aging tackles. They're not terrible, but they're not the same tackles that they once were 4 to 5 years ago. But the New York Jets knew this coming in. Tyron Smith has not played a full season in many years. Morgan Moses is a solid tackle to still have. But like I mentioned before, he has regressed every single season in the last 2 to 3 years. He hasn't been the same. Elijah Vera Tucker, I like him a lot at the guard position. But this offensive line is still a major problem. It's a step up from what it was last season. Then you look at Todd Downing. Todd Downing's not going to go out there. He's not going to be a top offensive play caller in the NFL. He wasn't that with the Tennessee Titans. They brought in Nathaniel Hackett because he has a good relationship with Aaron Rodgers. And I know Aaron Rodgers comes out smug. He goes on the Pat McAfee show. I don't have that much control around the organization. It's hard for fans to believe that when you go out there and they bring in pieces like Devontae Adams, they go out there and they sign guys like Alan Lazard. They bring in Nathaniel Hackett, who was terrible with the Denver Broncos. I understand he was a head coach in that situation, but he was the main offensive play caller. The man was so bad he gave up play calling duties at the halfway point of the season. That's how terrible he was as an offensive play caller with Russell Wilson. The man was so bad that they had people questioning, was Russell Wilson still a capable starter in the NFL? No one questioned that before that season with the Denver Broncos. And granted, they were dealing with a bad offensive line, but he's a terrible coach in his own right. That's why he's no longer calling plays with the New York Jets. They have all of this talent, and you look at this defense as well. This defense has not been the same this season. The defense is not bad. Their passing defense is still very good, and they're dealing with a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball throughout this season. I understand that. But their rushing defense has been abysmal this season. When you see teams go out there and run the football like the Buffalo Bills and the Steelers, they're running the football down their throat over and over again. And in certain situations, the defense collapses. Sauce Gardner has been a holding machine this season. I know a lot of fans look at him and they say he's a top cornerback in the NFL. In coverage, he still is. In my opinion, he's a top 10 cornerback. You can say he's a top 5. But this season, he hasn't been the same kid that he once was his rookie season and the season that we just moved off of. He hasn't been the same consistent cornerback because of the holding calls. And this defense cannot stop the run. And they're not having a tough time getting to the pass on a consistent basis because you still have guys that can go out there and they can get to the quarterback. You have Quinn Williams, who's a very good defensive tackle. In my opinion, I like him a lot. I think that he's a top defensive tackle in the NFL still. He does so much on the field. Will McDonald is a very good defensive end, in my opinion. The man has 8 sacks on the season, 2 forced fumbles. Hassan Reddick comes back in, but you knew that Hassan Reddick was not going to look the same immediately because he didn't go out there. He didn't go to training camp. He wanted to go out there. He wanted to make a lot of money up front. He wanted a long-term extension. He goes out there, he fires his agent, he brings in Drew Rosenhaus. All of a sudden, everything now is figured out. Is there a chance that they could turn their season around? Yes, but we say this every single season. And we say this every single week now with the Jets. They can always turn it around. All they are is just a quarterback away. That's not the case. You're a true head coach away. You're a true offensive play caller away. And you're still a quarterback away. Because regardless of how you guys feel, Aaron Rodgers has not been a good quarterback this season against elite level competition. We even look at that Tennessee Titans game. You're barely defeating the Tennessee Titans with Will Levis as a starting quarterback. And they can't put up big time points and big time production. With the offensive pieces that they have with Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Devontae Adams, they have to go out there and score more points. This defense has held it down over the last few years. You can no longer blame Robert Saleh. You can no longer blame Zach Wilson, even though Zach Wilson was a bust. I can tell you what's going to happen right now. If this season continues to head into this direction and the New York Jets are a complete failure and they miss the NFL playoffs, everyone is getting fired. And Aaron Rodgers more than likely will retire. That's what's going to happen. But now you put Devontae Adams back into a tough situation. Why did he want to leave the Raiders? Because the quarterback position was unknown and it wasn't good. You have Gardner Minshew. You have Aiden O'Connell. Aaron Rodgers leave. Who is going to be your starting quarterback for the next few years? Tyrod Taylor? Jordan Travis? Neither one of those guys are a long-term solution. And Aaron Rodgers is not going out there every single week and playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, but he's not doing enough. And he's not making those big time passes that he was making with the Green Bay Packers. He's an older quarterback that has an attitude. Regardless of how you feel about Aaron Rodgers in the past, phenomenal quarterback, phenomenal resume in the past. I'm talking about right now, this season, Aaron Rodgers has not been good. Aaron Rodgers is playing like a bottom tier quarterback in the NFL. He's too slow to move outside the pocket. He doesn't have the same arm to go out there and make those big time throws. He's a shell of his former self. And you could say it's the Achilles injury. The Green Bay Packers saw this. That's why they went out there and that's why they drafted Jordan Love. He was still a very good quarterback with the Packers, but he was clearly regressing. Aaron Rodgers will go out there. He will give you some good throws here and there, but he's not going to be the same Aaron Rodgers that he once was. And unfortunately, that's what the New York Jets are hoping for. But this team and this organization in general, they have a lot of problems. And this goes back to many years ago. When you brought in Sam Darnold, you couldn't develop him. You brought in Zach Wilson, you couldn't develop him. Bad decisions over and over again, and they continue to make these bad decisions. I am still shocked this team went out there and they lost against the Patriots this way, and they in the way that they lost against the Steelers last week. And you have Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers talking about energy. You guys bring the energy. You're the veterans. This is the Green Bay Packers 2.0 with a better defense. That's it. A better passing defense. That's it. And guess what Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers were with the Green Bay Packers? They were a very good combination. But how many rings do they have to show for it? 0. They always choked in the NFL playoffs, and they always choked when it mattered the most. And that has been the story of Aaron Rodgers' career. All the MVPs, cool. Won a Super Bowl many years ago against the Steelers. But what has he done in the last few years in the NFL with the Packers besides win those MVPs? Choking the NFL playoffs. Aaron Rodgers cannot go out there and carry this team anymore. And I do understand they have a terrible kicker, terrible coaching. Many people say Robert Saleh was a horrible head coach. He wasn't the best, but he wasn't their main problem. As you can see right now, ownership is their biggest problem, and that starts with Woody Johnson. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, and can they turn their season around? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.